It's Raja. Hi, Raja. Can you hear me? Oh, your hair's getting gray. I love it. I can't hear you. I think you're on mute, huh? Yeah, you're on mute for sure. I can read lips, so I'm good. I think I can unmute you. I think I can. Let's see. Chat, make host rename. Nope, I can't. Can I do it? No.
I said, I don't think anyone knows there's a meeting
Oh,
because you didn't change the date.
oh, here's Pendulum Ann. Hi, Pen. Oh, look at you. Oh my. I thought you were putting your wings on. Oh, so nice to see you. Hello, Raja. Oh,
Hi.
hey. Um, I love your hair. I think it's getting I think when it gets all gray, it's going to be so wonderful. So easy. Yeah, pretty close now, isn't it? It's so easy to take care of now.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about
Yeah,
your
I watched it.
yeah. Oh, can you hear us, Pan? Uh, the people in Canada take a while to assimilate words. So if she doesn't respond right away, it's because she's Canadian. She can't hear us. No. Bless her heart. Looking, trying to figure out which button to push. Let me see if I can help her. I don't know how. Uh, well, it's just nice to see her face. Oh, no, I can unmute her. Let's see. Can I? Let's see.
No.
Stop video chat. Make post. Remove. I can remove her. Can you hear me? I can't unmute her. I can mute her though. Oh, shoot. I hope she doesn't get discouraged. Send her a heart. In my heart? Can she see me? I don't know.
Send her a message.
I will. Chat. Okay. Okay. Okay, chat. I want to chat now.
Oh, hello.
Oh, hello.
Hey.
I was about to send you a message. You didn't hear our conversation
No,
about?
I didn't hear a word. Were you saying some good stuff?
Oh, it was. I said, since you weren't responding to me, I said, well, people in Canada take a while to assimilate something.
Oh.
I know it's cruel, isn't it? Yeah, it drives my wife crazy.
It's cruel being a Canadian.
I know. No. Somebody said something about Canada doesn't have a Thanksgiving Day. And I said, well, what do they have to be thankful for?
Oh, no. You spoiled Californians.
I know. I know. It's something I probably picked up from my dad. It's a funny sense of humor that not everyone gets. It drives my wife crazy. She, bless her heart, she just never has said anything bad, as far as I remember, in 60 years.
Wow, that's wonderful.
I know it is a voice. She
Aw.
cannot say the F word.
Oh,
I said, you can't say it, can you? She said, I can. I said, I don't want to. I said, well, let me hear you. Oh my God. It's so nice to see you, Pen.
oh, it's nice to see you too as well. Thanks.
Oh, such a lovely voice, soft and resonant. Everyone has such a beautiful voice. Raja's voice always thrills me. Um, I posted that it's so much nicer to see somebody in person than it is in pixels, and it is. Um, Something about all the subtleties, the facial subtleties that show. Uh, Something is just different about seeing someone's face.
Yeah.
When we see someone in person and we actually look into their eyes and we get a glimpse of their own vastness, of their vastness, and thereby get a glimpse of our own, something magical happens, something unspeakably pleasant. Whenever I go anywhere, I try to make eye contact. And once people focus on each other's eyes, something very wonderful happens. Um, I suppose it's because we are each other that we don't exist without each other. Humans alone go crazy if they're isolated for long periods of time and go insane. They just cannot take isolation. I think we emerge and exist in the reflections between each other. I think that's a love that people talk about, that it's not love in this common sense, but there's something very resonating, very resonant. Something happens, it's magical. Children can see it, and especially babies, if you catch their eyes, and they look at you and look at you. Oh, Sarah is here. The pronunciation of her name has a in it. It's Sarah. And I practice that sometimes. Sarah. And I'm getting close. I'm not sure I'll ever get it for sure, but I try.
I think you got it perfectly yesterday.
Yeah. Sarah.
Yeah.
Sarah.
Yeah.
Say it for us again.
Sarah.
Sarah. I know
Uh-huh.
I overdo it. um, Canadians have an accent. They don't know it. No one knows. But they do.
That's what my mother says. Every time I move, I acquire a new accent.
You know, we are tribal. And so I've lost my Wyoming accent. I really have. When I first came to California, everybody spoke so fast. And even now, if I hear somebody from Wyoming or Utah or Idaho, I can spot them because there's a very subtle difference in the way they speak. I love regional accents. Everyone thought when TV came in that regional accents would disappear. Do they have accents in South Africa, Raja? Can you tell when someone's from?
No.
No, there's no regional accents. Like in the United States, we have a Southern accent, a New York accent, um, Midwest, um, and Western California accent. Uh, there are people who can tell almost what state you're in by listening to your accent. Tennessee, West Virginia, all have a regional accent. What about Canada? Can you tell a Canadian from up north or?
I would think so, but I think it's really hard to tell for certain. You just get used to it. Well, you have the Quebecers, so they're speaking a different language altogether.
Ah,
They
oh,
this
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
Quebec.
we have, I'm on the border of Quebec, and my husband is also French speaking, so I'm so used to it. But yes, there's that. Let me see. Vancouver, I don't even know if they have an accent, but I think it's got to be a little bit of a slang here and there. Yeah, I think it varies from place to place. It's
Right.
very subtle, though. It's just a subtle accent that changes, except for once you go into Quebec. Oh, my mistake. Once you go out to Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, when you go way out east there, you get some big accents there as well. Like Newfoundland is quite a big accent. I can't understand what they're saying.
They speak more through their nose, I guess.
It's fast and they have their own language. We just let them be.
Really? Oh my God. I think that's wonderful. I when I especially in one-to-one conversations, I love to talk in Scotland. I'm sure that there are people who have, and England has definite accents, the Cockney and the Royal English, and who knows what else. If Darren comes this morning, we'll find out more about that. One time I said people don't know they have an accent, and it was kind of a reference to the idea that we can't see ourselves, is that we can't hear our own accent. One time I wrote, I wish I had an accent. Somebody says, you do. I said, no, I don't. Is we can't see ourselves. We cannot hear ourselves. We never will know who and what we are for a very good reason. It's because we really aren't. This compulsion to fix ourselves, this idea that something's missing, and we have the ability to not only to tell what it is, but we have the ability to change it, we think. So that's a never-ending job. It's a lifetime adventure of polishing this illusory sense of personal identity. Do you know what I would change about any one of you if I could?
Nothing.
Nothing. Nothing.
Nothing.
Most people say what?
I already know all your answers, Michael.
You know all my
I've
tricks.
known you a while.
I know. I got no more tricks. I have
You
to
got to get
repeat
some
them.
new ones. You've been putting a lot more words together, so there's
I
a few more
have.
tricks. There's a few more tricks.
I do. I spend more time on those long ones, but nobody reads them. I find if they're over like 8 lines or something, oh, Todd is here. Hi, Todd.
Who's Todd? Oh no.
I get some 30 or 40 or maybe a little more comments on my shorter ones, not over a paragraph. Very little on my longer ones, and I spend more time on those. I really do. I sweat, and
I get all excited when I see the long ones. I'm like, oh, something
well,
new.
you sweetheart. Yeah. Oh, look, Joan is here. Hi, Joan. Nice to see you. What a beautiful color that is. How appropriate. How beautiful. We were just, what were we talking about? I forgot. Oh,
Oh yeah.
the long posts that I write. Most people don't read, and that's okay. Some people do, and I love that. They take a lot more effort. But I have fun at it. I ideas kind of flow, and I cut and paste, and we'll take out a paragraph or maybe put it somewhere else, and then I have 2 spell checkers, and sometimes they argue, they'll conflict. Todd and I were laughing about that one time. One shows red and the other shows orange. So the red one will say, put a comma in. So I'll put a comma in. The orange one comes up and says, take the comma out. So I'll take, I don't know, too long trying to figure out if I want to put a comma in or not. Oh my God. We are the funniest creatures, I think. once we get a glimpse of our own idiosyncrasies, it becomes delightful. Puppy play. It's almost a puppy play with ourselves. That's all we've got anyway, is ourselves. We're alone in this beautiful, objectifying brain. So as we turn into the delight of simply being human, um, life becomes an ever surprisingness that where we're dancing an unknown dance always. No one told us how to dance or taught us, really. We're on our own. But the partners that come along, we dance with. And it is a dance. It feels like puppy play all the time. Spring colts, when they first learn to walk, and it takes a while, not too long, but they stumble around and fall down, and then they start to run. And then they really start to run when all those little soft muscles begin to get used to being a horse. They just go crazy with running and bucking, and all the rest of horses are eating grass, and these little colts are just running around. Just they play with each other, and they want to play with their mothers, and mother, of course, doesn't want to play. Nobody else does, and it feels like a spring cold to me when I wake up in the morning and I look around and I think, oh, I'm still here. What is today going to bring? My son and his son are taking Brazilian jiu-jitsu together, and they've been doing it for about 2 years now. So every 4 or 5 times a week, they go and wrestle with each other. And my son and I would wrestle when he was growing up, and my grandson and I would wrestle when he was growing up. So they've taken this to a whole new level. And my grandson is really good. Every contest he enters, he wins. I don't know how many gold medals he received. And so my son said, oh, he's 54, and he said, I want to try that. So he entered a contest, but he couldn't find anybody old enough in his category. And he found somebody who was 10 years younger than him, 44, the only person that he could wrestle was in his division. And so he said, I'm going to do it. And I said, God, that is very, very wonderful and very powerful. And he did, and he lost. But he really gave it a good go. He almost won one. And he said after that match, he was retiring. He tried it. He gave it a go. I signed up for the rodeo once, and I decided not to go, and I regret it the rest of my life. I've always regretted not. Oh, hi, Vicky. Um, I had a lot of friends that were in the rodeo, and they were going to get me White Lightning, which is supposedly an easy ride. And cowboys don't want the easy rides; they want the hard ones. So I was going to get White Lightning. Everything was ready to go, and I decided not to. And the rest of I just always regretted that. I could have done it. I know I could have, but what? There wasn't a system there to back me up. No one says, come on, Mikey, you can do this. I felt that way my whole life. No one to back me up. I think a lot of us felt that way. No one to back us up, no one behind us. I believe that can change, not through volition, and I don't know how, and no one has a method, but somehow we get glimpses. Oh, look who's here, Luke van der Beacon, Luke van der Beacon. Somehow through others, we can get a glimpse of our own exquisite, I suppose, emptiness, our own exquisite beauty, the beauty of being human, the beauty of being male or female, the beauty of just being. I don't know how. Maybe it takes a loving parent to start that machinery going, which a lot of us never had. a parent who hold our face and say, I love you, I'll always love you, I'll always be here for you. You can count on me. You call me at 3 o'clock in the morning and I will come. I didn't have that, and most of us didn't. Actually, most people don't. I see that as a blessing. I see that as the emptiness, the hollowness, the loneliness, the ache of imaginary separation became so deep that that is what stimulated the search. And the search is what brings us to this land of infinite possibility. Muhammad Ali, when he was a young kid, someone stole his bike and it really pissed him off. And he was small and defenseless, I suppose. So he looked around. He decided to join the boxing gym because he wanted to catch this kid and beat him up. If someone had not have stolen his bike, we wouldn't have Muhammad Ali. I love Muhammad Ali. He was such a brilliant boxer. No one is ever will be like him. And a gentleman. He was kind and I don't know, he was special. But unless that kid stole his bike, if somebody hadn't left us alone, we never would have started this inquiry into who am I? What is my nature? What is the meaning of life? I wasn't going to talk about that. I had planned to talk about dogma, and if non-duality is just another dogma, just another belief structure that we can hold on to, some place to rest in the falling. No religion thinks that every religion thinks that every other religion is just dogma, but theirs. Catholics think that they have the truth. Islam believes that they have the truth. Mormons, you name it. It's all dogma.
All words.
Just words, yeah. Self-referential, all referring back to the sense of self. And of course, there isn't one. I'm speculating that non-duality is dogma.
I think it's a brainwave state. Honestly, like lately, I'm discovering that more and more. It's a way of paying attention, opening attention and diffusing it. And what it does is there are certain physical aspects to it, to where the default mode network goes offline, and there's not as much selfing. And then at that point, you kind of tap into what's before language, into that more natural one mind. And that's what seems to me. I just don't know how it happens permanently. So the people that have a shift, somehow their brain just upgrades into that. But it does seem like there are moments where you could actually activate that part of your brain and go into that state. I mean, I call it a state, but it's just a way of attention or of relaxing attention in a certain way and not collapsing into narrow focus, which brings you into a condensed and solid self.
Yes, I guess I see that. Again, I'm speculating that that itself is dogma, that somehow other brains have attained something that we're missing, that other brains are able to get a glimpse of the way things are. And that is not the case at all. Those brains that appear to become rewired are left with absolutely nothing to hold on to. No belief structure, no solid sense of self, but again, this is dogma that I'm talking about. It becomes dogmatic as soon as it is like Todd said, words that are believed. I think that many people, I know for 50 years, I began to search. I searched everywhere. I read everything I could at that point up to 15 years ago. There's a lot of new writers now, a lot of people speaking of this. But up to that point, I lived everything. My bookshelf was, just went on and on and on. And some of them I wore out. Of Course in Miracles, I studied for 10 years. The Circuitata, I wore out 2 copies. Ashtavakra Gita, I wore out 2 copies. It was paperback and pretty cheaply made, so it wasn't that hard to wear it out. But I underlined so much that I considered underlining the parts I didn't like. That's hard. It I don't know, it's just hard. So I gave that up. But I really was searching for something. And then when I found non-duality, I thought, oh, this is it. Advaita in particular, Advaita Vedanta. And I thought, okay, this is it. And so that's where my focus was. Ramesh Balsekar, Wayne Lickerman, I went to see him and corresponded a long time on the internet with him. One time I was saying, he said something, and I said, Wayne, I feel like I'm falling. He said, that's cool. I said, no, I really feel like I'm falling. He said, well, let go of the falling. I was holding on to something dogmatic. And how many times did I think, oh, where did I read that? And I go back and try to find the book. And of course, it was very seldom pan out where I actually had that thought, and I lost it somehow. And so, but again, the mind seems to open for a second, and then we want to stay there. And then we're back into the world of words. Hi, Oliver. Hi. Oh, Luke Vander Bacon. There was Oliver. He changes personalities. I wish I could do that. Oh, look. Oh, hi, Oliver.
Hello, how are you?
Hi.
I joined late.
Welcome. We were talking about the possibility that non-duality is another dogma, or can be. I think when we fall in, life pulls us into that realm of non-dual thinking, that we start listening. I went to listen to Rupert Spira and fell in love with Spira, and fell in love with him. He's gentle and kind, and it was at a conference, and I went over to his table one time at breakfast, and I'm reticent to always do that because people come up to celebrities and invade their life. And so I wanted to just tell him how much I appreciated him. He said, well, join us for breakfast. And so I did. And we talked and had the most wonderful time. And it was a large conference, and I was standing at the elevator, and he came up behind me and put his arms around me. And his wife laughed, and I laughed. And he's that way, but I don't listen to him anymore. To me, he's become dogmatic. He has suggestions on what to do, pathways that he suggests to follow. I think after a while, especially when you become a celebrity almost, there's so little to say about this that they run out of things to say, and then they almost subconsciously, or whatever it is, fall into a methodology. And
Well, people are asking for that sort of thing all the time.
exactly.
And it's hard to not respond to them, you know?
Yeah, it is.
I wanted to say this. It's the audience that want instructions.
Mm. Yeah, we assume this is an instructive process whereby someone has the secret and can somehow pass that along to us. That our whole culture. If I learned carpentry by watching other carpenters, and I learned cabinet making by studying underneath a master cabinet maker for a while. That's our normal way of thinking. If I want to learn this, I need to go to somebody who's an authority. And it's so easy to fall into that groove of sycophant following, of believing whatever one of these people say. And when that happens, a critical mass is reached, like happened with Muji. Muji is no longer who he started out as. Jim Jones, from the start, he was a wonderful person, I think, when he first started that movement. David Koresh had wonderful intentions. David Applewhite, Ron L. Hubbard, you name them. But they've reached a critical mass of followers. Osho, look what happened to him. Sai Baba, it goes on and on and on. The idea, and it's alien, I think. I never have heard it before, that non-duality is just another dogma, and that there's a tendency of people to stay there, to rest. It's a place to rest for a while in this wild goose chase. Say, okay, this is where I'm going to start searching now. And of course, I think rarely is someone, I like Tim Kliss. I go to his meetings because he speaks this lingo, not about non-duality being dogmatic, but he's just open and free in his unknowingness. One time I mentioned about longing, that every human being longs. It's our nature. Every sentient life form longs, like something is missing. In the human mind, it feels like something is missing, but it's just life longing. Sentience is longing. Foxes in the forest long for a warm place to sleep, someone to mate with, some food, always looking for food, always longing. That's why life evolves. Without that, we wouldn't be sentient beings. And in human beings, the longing becomes personified, objectified. We long for happiness and love and things that exist only in the naming of them. And of course, we can't find happiness because it doesn't exist. There's no such thing. It's a chemical reaction in the brain. And we can stimulate that by taking drugs, and the endorphins come and we feel happy for a while. But then we lower the amount of dopamine our body can produce, and we feel kind of bad after. But we want to get happy again. I was addicted. I'm an alcoholic. I quit drinking like 50 years ago, but I wanted anything that would make me feel good. Sex was one, food, anything. I still like food. um, I think, who was it? I was talking to someone recently who I love about the possibility. Again, I hope this doesn't sound like a path. I'm just saying a possibility of just loving ourselves for who or what we think we are. Trying to crack a window into our own exquisite beauty, our uniqueness of being human, being with a whole collage, a galaxy of swirling self-referential memories that create the persona. So unique and so beautiful. We can see it in babies, this newness coming into the world. We can see it in toddlers, the exploration, the fearlessness. They fall and they get up again, and they fall and they get up again. They get hurt. And they get back into life. They don't question their own beauty. They don't see it as their own beauty. And actually, after a while, we don't see it that way at all either. We just see the sublime joy of simply being, amazed that anything exists at all. We'll never know who or what we are. No human being ever has or ever will. There's no authorities on this. There's no all we have is a group of ideas that create what we think of as reality. And of course, there's no such thing as reality. A bat has a different reality than ours, and to them, if they could think the way we do, that would be the world. A mother bat can go into a cave with a million other bats and all clicking and clicking and clicking. And on the walls are babies all clicking and clicking and clicking. In this total darkness, they can find their own baby. I couldn't do that. All that clicking, millions, trillions of clicking going on. Babies are calling their mother. They recognize their own mother. Someone just walked by. But that's a bat's reality. So there's no such thing as reality. There's the dodo bird had its dodo bird reality until we wiped them out. There's no such thing as reality except our name for it. But for us, that's reality. Something in it kind of dissolves all dogma. And I don't know how that's done. No one does or ever will again. There's no passageway to that. We're trying to get out of a place that never actually existed. This realm of self, the realm of ideation, the worded world where everything has a name. We're trying to escape that by using the very mechanism that creates it. The only thing we have to transform or get rid of this existential angst is the very tool that creates it. So anything we do exacerbates that, exaggerates it, or adds to it. It's a hell of a problem that doesn't even exist. It's like going into your dreams at night and trying to improve this dream character by a method. For years, I played with lucid dreaming, where you know you're dreaming. Say, oh, this is my dream. I can do anything I want. It takes practice, but you can. It takes a certain delicate focus. So you can say, oh, I want to fly. And sometimes you can, sometimes you can't get off the ground. And I don't know I don't know what happens there, but sometimes you do. And then you're flying around and amazed that everybody isn't impressed with your ability to fly. And of course, they're looking up at you like this, and they're all in your head. So somehow you say, hey, they're all in my head. Why am I trying to figure out what they're doing? You have light in dreams at night. Where does the light come from? It comes from inside. Where does your world come from now? It's all inside. It's all inside who you think you are, or who the brain thinks you are. Brain creates this illusion of separation and then tries to somehow get out of it. It wants to become oneness again. It wants to live in the now. I think Mr. Tolley has created more confusion than Jesus Christ. You can never get to the now. No matter what you do, it doesn't exist. There's no such thing as now. It doesn't exist. And there's no you to get there. That's the rub.
I think Jesus has the drop on
Says the what?
toll. I think Jesus has the drop on toll.
The drop.
Yeah.
I missed it, Todd, again.
Okay.
No, say it again.
The drop means that you said that Tully has outdone Jesus.
Oh.
I said, I don't think so.
You're
I've
right.
had it for a couple thousand years.
Oh, you're right. That was an over exaggeration. Some of the things Jesus said were, of course, wisdom. Buddha said some wonderful things, and of course, there's no evidence that Jesus ever existed, or the Buddha for that matter. But And people argue when I say that, but there really isn't. I think certain wisdom teachings come down through the ages. The kingdom of heaven is within. I think in the Old Testament it says, "Ye are gods," which is true. You are the God of the only universe you can ever know, the named universe, which is, of course, not what the universe is. It's a very tiny, minuscule part of the universe. We don't see something unless we have a name for it. Babies, after a while, at first they start to point because they want to share the wonder. After a while, they start to point because they want the name. And we oblige them. Horsey. Horsey. Can you say horsey? Um, that's when it starts. This gradually the separation. When it dawned on me when I was 7 or 8, I was a little slow. I think it happens in most people before that. But I realized I was separate and alone. And I crawled underneath the kitchen table, curled up, terror of aloneness. And that continued. Dysfunctional home, wild, crazy alcoholic father, no support. But without that, I wouldn't have started the search. I think drinking kept me alive. I think without it, I would have probably killed myself. I was emotionally flatlined. I didn't care if I lived or died. So I drank. And I think when I was 29 or so, I quit because I loved my wife and son, and I was going to lose them. But without that, I don't think I would appreciate life like I do now. Every moment is exciting. We're kind of confined to the house, but we watch movies at night and we decide and then we get excited and share, laugh and cry together. And I bought a wok and all the stuff to make Chinese food. And I made my first broccoli beef, and I learned how to make those tender pieces of beef that you get in Chinese food. You soak it in a little bit of soda for a while before you cook it, and that somehow makes it soft. And it was really good. So I'm excited about that. I'm going to make honey walnut shrimp next, and I'm excited about that. I was really excited to see who was going to turn up today. And then when I see faces that I love and new faces, it's an overwhelming feeling of peace and joy. And I'm looking at Pen. I've known her for a long time. Yeah, it's Pendulum Ann. And my pet name for her is Pen. And I just adore her. I love the sound of her voice. I love everything about her. And Vicky and Todd and Raja and Sarah. Oh, and Joan. I'm getting to know her. The more I get to know you, the more I love you. It's funny. I always thought if people really knew me, they wouldn't even like me. Come to find out, I learned in Alcoholics Anonymous, you finally everything you've done and what's been done to you comes out. And the more they knew about me, the more they loved me. The tighter they held me, the longer they held me. When at the first part of the meeting and the last part of the meeting, people would come up and hug a long time.
I think there's no way to not like to get to know people and really, really get to know them and not love them, because you just see everything. You see like what's the hurt and the pain, and you see that everything is stemming out of that. There's no way to like really know someone and just not love them.
Oh, no, no. I have a dear friend who's Jewish. And through them, I started reading about Palestine and the history. And because of them, because I was worried about them, what was going on, the horror of what happened. And through them, I opened up a whole new world that I had not been aware of. because of love. It doesn't take long for me to get to love you. Just a meeting, an exchange of words. I love this person to person exchange. I'm watching Pendulum Man now. This movement, this, yeah, it's dancing.
Yeah.
It's delightful. Does anybody else, what do you think about non-duality being another dogma? What's your first thoughts about that? In Tim's meeting, in order to avoid crosstalk, people will either raise their hand by clicking that little notifications thing at the bottom. You can raise your hand like so. Oh, that's clapping. How do you do that? Oh, you can do that too. Oh, you you raise your hand. Oh, look, and I'm clapping and raising my hand. I can do two things. That avoids crosstalk, and it's really nice. Would anybody like to share? And I'm going to lower my hand now. If you look at that very bottom, it says notifications. If you click at that, and at the bottom, it raises your hand, or you can just raise your hand if you'd like, and unmute yourself. I love Tim because he just waits. He'll wait for 5 minutes sometimes. Joan, yes.
Yeah, like on an intellectual level, I kind of follow this, but it's like anytime there's a question, that's not it.
Mm.
When you are in it, all the questions dissolve. I just wanted to share. Is that okay?
Oh,
I
of
have a
course.
friend, she's 81, and she's been having a non-dual life since she was a child. She just came in clear to the point where I think she was in her teens, and she was walking around naked in LA, not knowing that there was anything wrong with that. She was just so pure and so clear that it didn't even occur to her that you don't do that in this society.
Yeah.
I mean, just things like that. And then she was part of the Ramana Maharshi entourage for many years when she was in her late 20s and early 30s. So she used to travel with him. And she has two very troubled boys. They're in their 40s.
Mm.
And one of them, they went to his home. He's very financially comfortable. And they went to his home in Malibu, and they found him dead from nitrous oxide. He was so despondent and so distressed. And like I'm talking to you now, because I called her, "Are you okay?" And she's like, she was so clear about it. There was absolutely no fluctuation. I'm more fluctuated than she is. There was no fluctuation in her demeanor, in her character. There's just complete acceptance. And I was just utterly amazed that she's had such a devolution, of the ego and what it wants and all the, you know what I mean? Like, I think Muji's lost a son. Sadhguru's wife committed suicide, Samadhi. I mean, and it was just so fascinating to me to experience how clear she was with the reality that her 46, 47-year-old son took his own life. And he had everything, money could buy, that was never an issue. And it was just what the character, whatever the ego, just his. And then her other son can't live on his own. He's got a lot of psychological whatever issues, and he lives with her.
Mm.
Just, she says, I'm just here to learn about, unconditional love. And she's such an amazing person to know and to see how she navigated finding her son at his place a couple days ago. And I was just so fascinated by how she just responded in such an even keel manner.
Mm.
I can't, obviously I can't relate to that, but I was just in awe of how she's navigating that, that happened, you know?
You might just be in shock. I mean, that makes more sense, actually.
Yeah, I mean, like I'll check in with her, today or tomorrow to see how she's doing, but or maybe she was in shock. I don't know, but she has been following Francis Lucille for years, and like I said, Ramana Maharshi. So she's done a lot of retreats and work on herself, and she's 81.
Mm.
So such a beautiful spirit. And I just wanted to share that it when you've come to a point of, like I call it, devolution,
Mm.
it just, because part of this is accepting the non-existence of who you think you are or what you think you are.
Yeah, I don't know. I do think that people relate to death differently. The normal thing, the normal human reaction is it's tragic.
Yeah,
American
that's a normal reaction.
Mm. The American Indians would cut themselves, literally cut themselves and wail. Um, I think there is a naturalness that includes and embraces everything. Ramesh mourned his dead sister. He loved her. I think Ramana Maharshi did not relate to the world the way most people did. Obviously, this, whatever it is, seems to have happened to him when he was a teenager. He wasn't a fully blown adult. And I think he spent most of his life in a semi-stupor, and people get offended when I say that. He loved Lakshmi, the little white cow that followed him around. And when she died, he said that she had attained the ultimate enlightenment. And I think that was his way of expressing grief. Of course, cows don't become enlightened, and humans don't either. But I think that was his only way of expressing this profound sense of loss. Again, this is my speculation. Of course, I don't know. I've dealt with loss in my own life. I had a daughter that died. I did hospice, working with dying people, and also facilitating groups of widows and widowers. Mostly widows would come, very seldom a man would come to these, but going through the pain of loss, this agony, torture of loss, all of that seems natural to me. I in my own personal experience, there to try to evolve above that and not feel loss is trying to change the person from the inside. And it's like trying to change your dream character. It doesn't actually exist. And to try to accept yourself just the way you are doesn't work either, because there's no self to accept and no one to do that. That's the great conundrum. That's the thing that faces the seeker. The reason I talked about dogma of non-duality is because of that. The idea we can settle on a belief system as being more valid than any other seems to me now as equally invalid, equally just another belief system. I something here, again, it's part of the dogma that I've accumulated, tends to believe that with enough exposure, for years I thought about this. Years. I did everything. I tried to get in the now. I tried to, oh Jesus. If there was a technique, who was it, the little guy, Ken, somebody in a wheelchair. I followed him for a long time, and somebody else named Wayne and his wife who I don't know, so many people, so many books, so many methods. And the night that I went through the personal catharsis, whatever happened, I was thinking, I had gone to bed thinking, as I always had, that things don't exist. There's no such thing as mountains or waves or rivers or oceans. There's no such things, really. There's no line around a wave, no line around a mountain. A river is just moving water, moving rain, really. And rain is just kind of solidified ocean, or somehow the ocean gets up into the air and then it falls and makes rivers and stuff. There's no such thing as anything separate. And so I was thinking, if those separate things, how real am I, the holder of things, and a vortex? And I'm reticent to tell this story because, again, it creates dogma. But a vortex started to spin, and I tried to back out. It terrified me, and then I finally let go. And the next morning I woke up weeping and thinking, oh my God, this is the mind of Christ. This is the mind of Buddha. This is what they were trying to say. And I normally hate Las Vegas. I did, because an alcoholic and an ex-smoker, and then noise and everything was just too much for me. But we had to go because there were trade shows there and we owned retail stores. And so I always, twice a year, I dreaded it, but I love the beauty of Las Vegas. I saw green grass and waterfalls and people walking their dogs. It was so beautiful. And I wept for 2 days. My poor wife didn't know what happened. And nothing's changed much since that day. I see the beauty everywhere. I walked through Costco one time, was walking with my wife, and I said, everybody's smiling at me. She said, well, you're smiling at them. I said, really? I was soaking in their beauty. At that time, it was Christmas, and I watched the kids playing. And Raja, you have your hand up.
Hi, Joe. Yeah, I think I think last week we were talking also about depersonalization or something like that seemingly happens, I
Yeah.
don't know. But I mean, from my own experience, I remember that I also couldn't relate to people. It was like I would be listening to them and I could hear that they were sad or they were happy. I could see that on their faces, but I couldn't respond to that, you know?
Mm.
So yeah, it does happen, like, because you have no, you're left with nothing. You're like empty inside. And then they're talking to you. Then I realized now that I wasn't, like, I couldn't form bonds or relationships uh, because people were saying that I wasn't reacting, So what I did was I started to look at them and I would mirror them. Like if they were laughing, then I would laugh. And if they were crying, then I would cry, you know? And somehow that helped because now I started relating to people, you know? And I know it was like a bit of fake to do that, but there was no other way to to relate to them. So it's not that you don't feel. I think you do. I don't know, but I just couldn't relate. So I had to actually do that. And then my children now, I started to hug them and do stuff like that, And then I think when I joined Rainbows, then I started learning what love is and etc. And then it was like genuine. I could say to people I really loved them. But prior to that, I couldn't even say I love you to anyone because it was like you couldn't relate to them. You were here and they were there. It was like a distance. So maybe in a way, it's not that you can't, that she didn't feel sad. I don't know. Maybe she did. Also, we have belief structures that make us react in certain ways. Like with Muslims now, they tell them that when someone is
Water's
born,
boiling.
when you are born, it's a sad thing because you're being born into a world of sin. And when you die, on the other hand, they celebrate. So, like we were not allowed to cry when
Mhm.
someone died, because it was seen as being a good thing because now the life of sin had ended. So it's also how you're brought up to, I suppose. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, Joan, but yeah, also when I experienced the shift, I also didn't feel much. It was like I was just empty of everything. And my children used to complain too. They say, Mom, all the other mothers are hugging them and kissing them, and I wasn't doing all that. So I had to start doing it.
Yeah.
Can I say, oh,
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say, to me, this seems like the opposite of depersonalization. It seems like it's coming fully into your humanity, into your body, into what it is like to feel everything. It's very raw. It's very immediate. That's my experience, because suddenly there's no protection. There's not a mechanism that's going into thought to try to like escape what's actually happening. And that's why I feel like there's a full capacity brought into life in this very direct way. And so that I don't know what people mean when they speak of emptiness. That's not been my experience, but I'm sure there's some stage like that. So maybe, I don't know, to me, it's never been that. It's more like a fullness, which you can't get away from.
Yeah, it's all unique, Sarah, to each individual. I think it is. Because kind of like when they say there's no method to this, it makes sense because each of us is so unique. So which method or which path is going to lead us where? You know what I mean? And yeah, it's okay. Like it's okay to feel, to be able to say how you feel, and it's okay if others don't agree with you. Because we unique.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of
That's
people
the
talk about,
thing.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I hear a lot of, this is what I'm wondering about, what they're speaking of, because I hear that experience of feeling like they're not really, kind of, there's a distance between them and life. But to me, that would feel more like separation. So like when I do this open attention sort of thing, it's when suddenly everything's right here. There's no distance, no separation, no anything. It's immediate and it's right here. There's no way to not relate to it. Well, you're not relating to it. It becomes you. So anyway, I do wonder about that, like what they're speaking of. I mean, I'm sure there are other ways of experiencing this that I just haven't encountered yet.
Yeah, there's also integration, Stella, that initially when it happens to you, you're living a normal life, and then suddenly now you are. All boundaries are fallen. You are now feeling everything. Every pain is becoming your pain. Your thoughts boundaries are gone. There's no boundaries between you and others. All have fallen through. And now what are you going to do? You know what I mean? You don't know. Then gradually start to integrate. I suppose after I went into Rainbows, maybe some sort of integration took place. But prior to that, I didn't even know much. I was like learning. It's okay, like if you look at Michael Markham now, and he's had so many years of it, and then when it happens to him, it's hallelujah, you know? Hey, yeah. Now to me it was, what the heck? What am I going through? You know? So that's all I can say, Sarah. I don't know. But I mean, that's how I felt. And I'm glad like I can feel love now. It's like a bonus, you know, that you can love and be genuine. Like, and I can just go on Facebook and say to everyone I love them. So it's
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Thank you, Raja.
Yeah.
I think generally speaking, anything we think we believe could not be true. And even that includes the statement I just made, that any schematic, any map we have of the territory is just a personalized objectification of the way we think things are. We have to have a map to navigate. A lot of our maps are pretty screwed up. Mine were for so many years. But generally speaking, anything we believe about the nature of the world, about the way we are, and how we as a person relate to that mind map as if they were separate, could not be true. This was the topic of today's meeting, was the idea that non-duality is just another mind map. Just a whole group of suggestions about the way we can find a way to transcend, change, or manipulate the dream of separation. And we are the dream of separation. We are a physical brain dreaming up a persona that's not real. And this persona lives in a pseudo reality, something that exists only in the naming of it and in the belief system about it. I believe that somehow the brain can see through its own charade. And whether or not, again, that's just another mind map. I don't know if it's true or not. I do know that this brain experiences the world profoundly different than it did before. But is that any more realistic? I know it's easier not to personalize everything someone says, or let your feelings don't get hurt. People, oh gosh, I've talked to, I don't know, 2 or 3 people in the group who we've been going back and forth for a year or so now. And finally, with one of them, I said something that I love his company. And that broke, something in him broke. And he wrote back that he loved our conversations too. And something the tension that appeared to be between us is apparently starting to dissolve. I love it when that happens. People get so mad at me, they leave. I never see them again. Oh, there's a whole world I'll never get to know, a whole galaxy. I mean, I love the people here so much that Phyllis, I love Phyllis. We've been to war together. We've been on the front lines together. I love her I love her nakedness and her honesty and her strength and her beauty and her intelligence. And I don't know how many languages she's fluent in, but one time she was talking to somebody while we were on, and she speaks fluent French, I'm sure, with no accent. So she was going back and forth between English and French, and I think, my God, how can a brain do that? I went to France. I had 4 years in college, and I thought, I got this down. And I spent 2 months eating ham sandwiches. Sandwich jambon. I don't like them. No. Pardon, monsieur. They don't like Americans all that much. I can see why. especially in Paris. So, pardon, monsieur? Sandwich jambon avec fromage. What kind of fromage? They got like 100 kinds of fromage, and you point, and they'll say, Monsieur. Oh, sandwich jambon. I wish I had Phyllis with me. Would have made my life easier. Oh my God, I was so alone. I was 20, I think, and I went up to the Louvre, the steps, big steps, and there was a Frenchman standing there, and I looked like I was American. I know I did. So he's standing looking at me like this, and I turned around and left. I didn't go into the Louvre. My one chance. I could have seen God knows how much, but I didn't go. I was intimidated. And I know there's a certain fearlessness that comes with enough time on the front lines where you realize that, gosh, a bullet's going to hit you sometime, but while you hear them whizzing by, but you're in war. Shoot some back. Stand up. This is your life, one life. You won't get another time. This is it. This is your life. And it's so beautiful and so unique. Your uniqueness is your aloneness. I know I'm alone in this world. I'm a galaxy of self-referential memories. And that's okay. Somehow through language, I think language is the iCloud that we can reach across the gap. I can speak to somebody in Canada. I see somebody in Australia I love and have loved for a long time. I remember when this person was in pain. I didn't feel the pain, of course, but I somehow was in pain because she was in pain. And when that was better, I felt better. I didn't worry about her. We're tribal. We spent how many millions of years in small tribes where everyone in the tribe was so critical. There was no idea of separation between us and the fire maker and the bowl maker and the leather tanner and the storyteller and the grandfather who was very wise. And we were all critical for each other's survival. We've lost that. Our tribe is so much bigger now. It feels very primitive and tribal when I look at your faces. I see new people that I want to know better, that I have this desire to fall in love with. Oh, I often say, and I truly mean this, if you could see your own beauty, you would fall to the ground weeping. At your incredible humanness. For females, this incredible femaleness, the way you walk and talk and laugh, it's different than men. Men have a different world. And the magnetism is natural between men and women. This attraction, it's as natural as can be. We wouldn't be here without it. It takes too much money and too much time to raise a child. To really, if we thought about it, nobody would have children. They're in great trouble. 20 years it takes to raise a child. And it costs them about maybe $150,000 to $200,000 to put them in college for 4 years. They're very expensive little creatures. So this magnetism is natural and it doesn't go away. I loved Eli Jackson Bear, husband of Gangaji. And I got to know him well, and we corresponded a long time. And he and Gangaji were marriage counselors. But one time I was with him at a gathering, and there was a young lady talking to him. This is a beautiful young woman. Her arms were tattooed, and she was a midwife, very sensuous. They were sitting very close on a park bench talking, and I thought, I wonder how he keeps his wires from getting crossed. And come to find out, he didn't. He had an affair, and there's a big hoopla. They wanted to, oh, it's just awful. It was like 6 months of barrages coming in from, how could you? After all, you helped us with our marriage, and then you have an affair. And I wrote him, and I said, Eli, I love you more now than I ever have. You have allowed your humanness. I see you as simply being a man now, and I love that. He said, Michael, in the middle of all this hoopla, in the center was always this sublime quietness, this sublime emptiness. And as human beings, we all have that. It's there. This conceptual storm that's always got words. Thought doesn't stop. It's a storm of words out of which the sense of self emerges. It holographic homunculus. That is the storm itself. But in the center of that storm, it's quiet. It's always sublime. It's empty. No one lives there. But it's part of who we are. Somehow, it feels like this brain has learned to live with a foot in the quietness and a foot in the storm. I love the thoughts that come up. Oh, Lindsay is here. Finally, Lindsay had arrived. The conceptual storm that many try to stop or control. Or, oh, look at that cat. Is that one of the cats that went away for a while? No, a new one. Oh, it's a
This was a
beautiful.
little baby we found outside our garbage can. It was
Oh,
sad, and
no.
his eyes were all closed,
Oh,
and he was
look at
half
you.
dead. And I was stepping out the door, and I threw my daughter back in the house. I said, "No, go back in the house," and called my son. And he came and he picked it up and wiped the eyes off, and kept it warm and everything. And yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
beautiful
And
creature.
we called him Yoda. He's a Yoda.
He looks like a raccoon to me. Look at that.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, beautiful pen. I
That's
love
Yoda bones.
Yeah, it is Yoda bones. It is. But he migrated to Yoda. Everybody had names. We just mushed them together. But yeah, Yoda bones.
what a
Good memory.
beautiful creature. I remember when Pen, who loves her cats, and I learned to love cats. I want to get a cat, but my wife doesn't want to, and so she's balancing that out. But through Pen and Todd, I learned to love cats because they love their cats so much. And one time, a while back, Pen's cats disappeared. They went away. And Pen was really sad. And I was really sad with her. I felt her pain. And because I love her. The love has grown over the years. I'm looking at her now and my mind just starts to go blank. Through that, I learned to
I have a good empty head.
love. Well, it
When you
seems
say there's no words, I'm like, I don't know. I'm pretty empty here.
through that love, I thought, well, I want a cat. And again through Todd. And I think because Todd loves cats so much, I think I can do that. I want to have a cat crawl on my lap. I want to pet him and I want to hear him purr. And I want to see the tail go like this. And I want to have him rub up against my leg the way they do and arch their back. One time I wrote a thing about life rubs up against you like a beloved cat and arches its back.
I have a funny little story I have to share with you. So before I fenced in my yard, before the cats disappeared, I got this big, huge, keeping the world out fence in my backyard now. Um, my husband, he would go in the backyard and he would be smoking his cigarettes, right? And on several occasions, he'd be standing there and he'd slowly look down and there'd be a skunk rubbing up around his legs, going in just like a cat. And he'd be like, skunks love him.
Skunks love him.
And you know what? He hates cats.
That's something. Oh,
I think he's grown
oh,
to like them, but yeah.
oh, that's so
Skunks love him. That
wonderful.
was my story.
My son, when he first married his wife, had a large house down by the ocean, and a skunk was on their front deck. They didn't know what to do, so she took off her shoe and threw it at the skunk.
Oh no.
But you know the rest of the story.
Yeah, yeah.
He sprayed the whole deck. They tried tomato juice and everything. Yeah, don't tell your husband not to kick the skunk.
No, he was good at being very still. Yeah, he had stillness in that moment.
Oh my God. I knew somebody who worked in Yosemite National Park, not too far from us. And every year, the raccoons are so tame, they come right around the camp. And men are pretty macho things a lot of times, and especially campers, I think. So every year, somebody tries to kick a raccoon. And the raccoon does some type of a keto move and bites him right on the crotch. So they call in the ambulance to take this poor fellow in. And after about 20 years, that might become funny. Well, how did we get on this? Oh my God. For those who just, oh, hi, Vicky. So nice to see your face.
I have a good skunk story.
Okay. Okay. Okay, let's have it.
We had emptied the pool, and because we were painting it, and this process, usually takes a couple of months. So the pool was, we start at the bottom and work our way up, and the pool was still fairly empty, but it had rained a lot, and there was like, water, probably a couple inches of water up, at the 4 foot. There's like a 9 foot bowl in the deep end, and a 4 foot deep area around the edge, and there was probably maybe an inch of water, or across the whole 4 foot area. And this adolescent skunk had fallen in somehow, and it was like running around the perimeter trying to figure out how to get out. And I put a ladder and sort of leaned it down and put some plywood on it, sort of like a ramp, and it couldn't figure out to like get out that way. So we put some cat food on it, on the ramp, to try to draw it up, and it still couldn't figure it out. So my wife took the leaf net and reached, this was after the thing had been in there for a number of hours and was seeming pretty distressed. And she, basically scooped it up and, was pulling it up, and it, it squirted a little bit, but I think it understood that we were trying to help it. And I got a video of it sort of scampering off after we pulled it out. But
Didn't spray?
it just squirted a little bit.
That's enough.
It was like it was afraid. It wasn't trying to get us. it was just, it was just really stressed out.
You know, Todd, that idea that when we talk to each other, uh, things bubble up. Like when you said, I have a skunk story. When we talk about non-duality, things bubble up. The nature of sharing is that, oh, that me, but we are this idea that we relate things to how it relates to us. That's who we are, I think, is a brain that relates to the world constantly on that level. But I love that. I love how this sharing, and particularly non-duality, is very intimate. A lot of times we bypass all of the superficial party talk and get down a little deeper. It feels like to me that Vicky wrote that she got to go, and so I have become the missing of Vicky already. Phyllis, did you want to talk? Was that a hand? No. Oh, she was waving goodbye to Vicky. But that's that, already I'm missing Vicky. So, but this thing of this interrelationship that at first we're cautious on, of course, but after a while we move more and more garments, more and more of our ideas start to become less solid, and we become more vulnerable, and something happens. Pretty soon we're naked in Los Angeles. I used to have dreams of being naked in the mall or sitting on the toilet in the mall. That's a very common dream. Those who haven't had it, it's quite an experience. Because you just don't know what to do when that happens. I think it's the brain practicing vulnerability. I have no idea what goes on in the brain, but it's really the brain having no idea what goes on inside this pseudo reality it creates out of beliefs and self-referential memories. I find that as I get older, my memories start to become more fluid. My brother calls up and wants to talk about Wyoming, and of course he and I are the only ones left who can share these things, and I don't remember a lot of this stuff. It's not important to me. Say, don't you remember when so and so? And I say, no, I don't really. I remember some things, some crazy moments, but I don't care much about it anymore. I suppose maybe that's the grace of old age. I have watched people, have sat with people dying of dementia and Alzheimer's and all types of memory forgetting things, and quite often they just kind of, it's not always, sometimes they're very upset, and sometimes they're very peaceful in this sublime unknowingness. I feel at peace. The war is over for me. I've been wounded and shot, torn up, and humiliated, and I've done some things that I used to regret, but I know that none of us have a choice. I know that choice is not anywhere in the universe. Animals don't have choice. A baby doesn't have choice. A toddler doesn't have choice. Are they supposed to get it when they're about 6? Are they responsible when they're 10? Can we put them in jail at 10 for something they've done? We do. Do they have choice? And we have no choice but to put a bank robber in a place where he doesn't have access to banks. I mean, that makes sense, because they rob banks. It's what they do. Bank robber. He was in AA. That's what he did. He robbed banks. He says, they treat us pretty good. Treat us bank robbers pretty good. They respect us in prison. So that's good to know. In case you ever want to rob a bank, your experience in prison might not be so bad. Might be worth the risk. Oh my God. See, that's my brain thinking the way a guy thinks. Oh my God. I love being hooked to this old brain, riding a slow horse down towards the ocean. Something happened. Oh, something fell. A robber. Have you got a gun? Oh. I'm going to mute Todd. There. I have this great power. I can mute people. Who am I gonna? I'm gonna ask Oliver. I unmuted Oliver. Oliver, what do you think about non-duality being just another dogma, just another swing at religion? How does that feel to you?
Well, I don't belong to any school or category of ideas. And dogma might be a strong word, but it can be a belief simply. Anything can become into a belief. I have some criteria for myself to recognize if I have made something into a belief, into a shelter for me. First of all, I look if it gives me some sort of security, something to hold my back. It's a very obvious sign if we look closely. We can clearly see if that is something that gives me a security. Anything that turns into an instruction gives a security. And the other thing is that I look if it's an instruction. As soon as we experience something beyond the normal daily life, we tend to grasp it, hold it, by turning it into an instruction so that I can repeat it in the future. And I can go further. I don't know where, but going further. And yeah, obviously, any instruction is created in the past and is meant to repeat the past in the future. So I look at myself and I see, okay, I made that realization or that understanding that I had yesterday into an instruction, and I'm trying to repeat it today so that I have that feeling or experience or whatever it was. And I found that, okay, it's just a repetition, but with a new tool or new toy that I found.
It's beautiful. Thank you. I tend to believe now, when again, my beliefs have become more fluid, it seems, or more nebulous, and more that anything we believe is a dogma, that any belief about things, and there are no things except in the naming of them, and all of our beliefs are about things held by an imaginary persona, an imaginary person. That automatically makes any belief dogmatic. It's self-referential. It's what? It's in essence a religion of one. Everything I believe about anything is a religion, my own personal religion, my God, me. You should have no other God before me. That's me. I am the God of a very unique world, or I'm speaking as my brain now. My brain is talking to your brain. I am the God of a very unique world created from memories of things that don't exist. There are no separate events. Everybody says, oh yeah, my birthday is a separate event, but it's not. Your wedding was not a separate event. Everything that preceded that dictated what happened during the wedding and then after. It's an event flow. But even that pictures a whole bunch of events flowing together. And that's as close as we can get with objectification. But it's not an event flow at all. There are no separate events. There's no separate things. Then we can say, oh, I used to say it's just a flowing, unknowable plasma goo. But that tries to freeze frame it, put a box around it. All of our words are boxes about things that contain things that don't exist. There's no trees or rocks or waterfalls. There's no rivers or oceans, waves or mountains. Those are freeze-framed, boxed-in ideas that are static. People think a river changes, but it can't. A river is always just a river, no matter what happens to it. If it goes over banks here, it's just a river overflowing its banks. So then rivers become fluid. They become not things. And somehow the brain can seem to grok that. But that's as close as it can get through objectification. That is the prison. That our world is limited by our brain's ability to objectify. Some brains can objectify plasma physics. And if you just open a few books on that, you go, it's just awful. You try to understand it. But the same thing applies to gravity and electricity and magnetism and water. We don't know what water is. Two explosive gases. We don't know what anything is. We name it and think we understand it. Electricity, we divide into amps and watts and volts. And I passed a contractor's test where I had to know that. I'll bet Todd knows the difference between amps and watts and volts. When we do that, we think we understand electricity. But I understood it much better when I stepped on an electrical cord when I was a teenager, and it shocked the hell out of me, and I bit my tongue. I knew more about electricity then than physicists do. I asked the head at Berkeley of the physics department. I met him at our store one time. I asked him what he did. He said, I'm the head of physics at Berkeley. I said, oh. So I said, do you understand E equals MC squared? That he said, no, I don't. And he was the head of the best physics college in the world, probably. He said, I don't. He said, I'm not sure Einstein did either. He strings a bunch of math together and tries to relate the speed of light with mass and something else. Of course, the speed of light is miles per second, but we don't know what a mile is, and we don't know how long a second lasts. Someone I said, how long is a second exactly? But our idea of time is related to the earth and the sun and how long it takes and stuff. That's our idea of time. There's no time on the sun. It just doesn't appear. Astrology doesn't work in outer space because the constellations are different. Don't tell an astrologer that. It's only Earth-centric. I think that's a wonderful example of our attempt to understand. We understand nothing. No one ever has or ever will. All they do is label. Any ideas? Any hands? Oh, you beautiful minds, you beautiful brains. Ah. That's Pendulum Ann's gaming chair. She's a gamer, and I love video games. One time we played a video game together about a zombie-like creature that sneaks up on you and kills you. It scared me so bad. I had to stop playing. It was awful. Even now I get scared. Everyone else says, "I'll come play." I said, "No, I won't." You kind of move real slow like you do sometimes in dreams. And this guy, this big killer comes up and just kills you. And I think, well, this is a lot of fun. Oh, God. This world we live in is so beautiful. We won't last that long. One day your hair will be white if you're lucky. And your walk will become strained if you're lucky to live this long. Doesn't last long at all, but while we're here, just look around. Oh God, I'm giving out methods again. I don't mean to do that. Pen, I was telling him about the game we played together, and it scared me so bad that even now I can't hardly talk about it.
Listen. I'm waiting for you to come back and play with me.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen. I will play another game with you. Even now, that guy scares me. I couldn't move fast enough, and you were trying to protect me, but
I'm like, hide.
yeah,
He's
hi.
coming.
Ooh. It was awful. My worst fear.
Don't watch a movie called Dreamscape.
Oh God, no! Dreamscape. Let me write that down.
I can't believe you have fear though. Aren't you fearless?
Oh, no,
Like, why is
no, fear is not our enemy. I grew up around grizzlies. They just terrify me. You see them stand up, hair stands up on the back of their neck.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's survival skills. I've been told often that I would not survive very long.
Yeah, fearless people don't live that long.
Yeah, that's my daughter. She educated me. She goes, you'd be the first one to die.
No, fear is my friend. I don't play zombie games because I can't go to sleep at night. Yeah, I love my fear. I think it keeps us alive. I grew up in a gun society. We had so many guns around our house in Wyoming. Everybody had guns. I have guns now. I feel comfortable with guns.
I kind of thought that you didn't play the game because, okay, I'm going to talk about energy. It intensifies your energy and you get kind of like, wound up like that. And I thought Michael needs it nice and soft all the time, probably. He just needs that, like,
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I didn't like that. It really did scare me. I felt helpless. I suppose that's what it is. I don't know. I don't care anymore. It's just who I am. This wonderful acceptance of who whatever I think or the brain thinks I am, the brain seems to accept this character, its persona, as what, perfect isn't the right word at all, as complete, as whole. Nothing changes, nothing will want. I don't want to change anything in me. I have all the foibles and human stuff. A
It's
female.
choiceless.
I'm
You can
sorry.
change it. It's choiceless. You can change it if you wanted to.
No, I couldn't. Isn't that the truth? Yeah. I
Yeah.
become defined by the desire to change. Um, yeah, don't want to change anything. We drive through a town with these beautiful young kids walking by, and I love females. I love the way they talk and walk, and I'll watch them and I don't want them anymore, but I want them to be happy. And there's a big difference between the way I wanted to feel. But part of the midbrain can't honestly say that it doesn't want them. I'm just a male. I like the electricity between males and females. I like this stance between men now. I never used to. It scared me. I didn't like men, and I always kept my eye out. But now I love men, and I tell them I love them because I do. I see them as compliments to who I am, as what I learn from them. I talk to them on a level I enjoy. I love simply being. Lindsay, did you have anything to share? You look so peaceful there.
I have a little tweak in the back about a skunk story. Everything else, I have nothing to say. The bottom has dropped out, and so I'll tell you my skunk story.
I'd like to hear it.
I went on a vision quest with a medicine man. I think his name was Sun Bear, many, many years ago. And we all got certain teachings and did sweat lodge and all that. And we are all sent out by ourselves to sleep overnight in the woods. And I had never done that before. And I was a little nervous. We all just had our sleeping bag. And so we were prepped for the woods. And he said, you may meet, some animals while you're out there. And don't worry, around here, this is the Northeast. There's not really much, maybe you could meet a coyote or a fox or something like that, but don't worry. And if you come in contact, just sing to them, just sing and see what happens if that happens. And tomorrow we'll come back, sit around the fire and tell our stories. So I was a little nervous. So I went down by this nice lake, put my sleeping bag under a willow tree. And I'm like, okay, I think I feel kind of safe here. And I drifted off. And then all of a sudden I hear this, like patting the feet on the ground. And I'm like, I rubbed my eyes and looked up, and there was like 3 skunks. And they were staring at me. And they were about 20 feet away, staring at me, patting their feet. They were trying to tell me something. And I'm like, oh, hi. And I didn't know what to do. And then I remembered the singing of the song. And then a song in the middle of the night. So I'm like, I don't even remember what the song was. Like, so I'm sitting there singing Twinkle Little Star off key to 3 skunks in the middle of the night in the woods. Twinkle, twinkle. And they're looking at me. They're always like looking at each other saying, what the fuck was this? And it turns out the next day, as I told the story, Sun Bear said, you chose to sleep right by the water and you were right on their path. because they kept waking me up and coming back, and I had to sing another song and Om Namah Shivaya, and maybe Sanskrit will work, like. Anyways, that was my story. Otherwise, I started coming to non-duality talks about 1.5 years ago, and I became obsessed with videos, to maybe 2 a day, 3 a day. I went up to Jim Newman in so I went to a live retreat at one point, and it was like, the recognition is there, and the finality of it, there's nothing to do. There's nowhere to go. There's nothing. There's nothing. So I haven't been to any of these for 6 months. I'm just living my life. And it's the bottom just dropped out. But there's nothing. There's just nothing to hold on to. There's nothing to. But I think I'm still in there's remnants of not depression, but like, fuck, I spent 50 years working on this, but I worked real hard. I wanted to get an A. And I end up with nothing but everything at the same time. And it's, so I'm still in a little bit of like, I'm not walking around going, it's just stunning. It's stunning. There's miracles everywhere. I mean, it comes and goes. I mean, it's just everything is it anyway, and there is no it, and so there's nothing to say except skunk stories. Anyways,
They've different. Everybody talks.
although there is love,
There
or
is.
whatever word you want to call it. There is.
It takes years to get used to the idea of being nothing, of knowing nothing. It takes years to build a human being. It takes a while to integrate the understanding that there's no such thing. Eckhart Tolle, which I'm not a fan of, supposedly spent time on a park bench, and it has become known as park bench time, of acclimatizing to the world where nothing's known or can be known. If there's no bucket, even a bucket seems to lose its bottom and everything falls through. But those are just words. No one knows what it is or what its cause is. I don't believe in causes either. There's no cause and effect. In our world, there appears to be a relationship between particularly things physical. You can skip a rock on water. But for things imaginary, like a good percentage of our world, if it doesn't have a physical reality, it doesn't exist as anything more than an idea about an idea. There's no such thing as happiness or love. You can't measure it. If you can't measure it, it's purely imaginary. So we never had anything. We don't lose anything. We never had anything to start with. There is a sublime emptiness that seems to, one has to become accustomed to it. It feels like falling, and then after a while, it feels like flying. But the moment we're born, we start plummeting to our own death, falling. See, those facial expressions are the thing that we, the subtle facial expressions.
Just
I wouldn't
plummeting to our death.
I wouldn't want to live forever. That would be a hell beyond anything imaginable. The Scientologists signed a billion-year contract, and evidently that's
Yeah.
long enough for them. But I wouldn't want to live for a billion years. I wouldn't want to live forever. Once is enough. Mine is, this life is, I'm looking at my wife now, and she's probably, I mean, how long have I been here now? 2 hours? He says, oh my God. Time goes by when you're not being anybody. Oh, how lovely to see you all. How wonderful. Phyllis, I love you.
I love you all. Yeah.
The sound of your voice just chills.
I love seeing the cat. I just wanted to say thank you for the cat because I had a cat. I've only had one cat and she passed on several weeks ago. And it was a great bereavement because I think that cat taught me more about love than, or as much, who knows, you can't compare that. It was like a child, huh? She was like, but I was the child, huh? The cat, there was this beautiful symbiosis and the cat was so independent. I loved that about the cat. And we'd only had dogs, but the cat is just, it's like the life, just it jumps and you never know where it is. It's just spontaneous, like this thing, huh? Just sort of coming out of jumping on the bed and, jumping on my, and you cannot predict it. There is no predictability. There is no security. The cat loved me because I feed her, and the house, it was hers. And she at the end of her life, she was like a little dog. Huh? She would just wait till I'd go upstairs to my bedroom, and at 9:30, if I wasn't packing up downstairs, she'd look at me. No words. Huh? It was such love. She'd look at me like, get cracking, girl. Huh? 9:30, huh?
Yeah.
Cinderella time is coming. And then she'd scurry up the stairs with me and she'd wait at the door, even though there was a cat flap so she could zip in. She'd kind of like wait like a lady in waiting. It was so beautiful. She would wait until I would open the door and say, it's okay, come on, baby, Chanel. And then she'd wait at the foot of the bed here where I am now. You can see the strip show. This is my bedtime. This is my bedroom. Huh?
Yeah.
I'd say, up, Chanel. And she'd jump up and, find her little place. And she knew I didn't like it when she slept with me all night because the purring would wake me up. And she'd be, zipping around the bed in a quiet way, but enough to. So she knew that. I don't know how she knew it, because they know it was that's kind of knowingness. That's the words don't really matter so much when there's that knowingness and that love and that symbiosis that we feel with each other too. Just the looking is enough. And she would just stay in my bed until I fell asleep. And then once I was asleep, she would go down and go outside and do whatever cats do at night. And she was such a comfort to me when I was going through some less happy events. And, she would just come and purr. This unconditional love, like a child, but I didn't have to raise it. No diapers. Huh?
Yeah.
Only had to feed it. I'm seeing the cat. I was very sad and cried and wept, and then it was gone. It was such a gift, just such a gift to have a cat at age 74 to 77. It's like, I learned that was more important than knowing all that French stuff. Michael, but it would have been fun to be with you in Paris too. I'd ordered you the best food, huh?
Beautiful.
Yeah, I like it. And her name was Chanel, like the
Oh,
French perfume. Yeah.
yeah.
So thank you for the cats. Thank you for the cat.
Oh, you love.
That love, and she just purr, and sometimes when I put out her food, because that was the first cat I'd had, and my companion would show me, what to give her and what time. And sometimes, she only liked the really expensive stuff, Sheba and Gourmet Purina, and so that's what she got. And sometimes when it wasn't that, she would look at the food and kind of look at me, huh? And look down, look at me, like, that's it, Ma? What are you, who are you kidding, huh? And she just look up and like, where's the rest, huh? Do you think I'm gonna eat this, kiddo, huh? But it was, that's all there was cat and me and purring, huh?
Sweet.
And jumping on bed.
Yeah. Todd mentioned one time that he had read or something that cats don't meow to each other, but they do meow to humans. And I think that's probably true. They're trying, evidently. What do you think, Pam? Do cats meow to each other?
I don't know.
I
I
don't
know
think
they meow
so.
at me, but
Yeah. They want some is to get
I'll
our
get back to you
attention.
on that one. I don't know.
Oh, you sweetheart. Oh my God, we've run way over time.
Yeah.
Bedtime.
Yeah, we spent 2 hours, which is, it seems like nothing to me. It seems like swimming naked in the Mississippi River. Yeah, Todd, you were going to say something. No, Joan, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
I
Todd,
was just gonna say goodbye.
oh, you love. Nice to hear your voice.
It was really nice to see all of you.
I love you, Todd.
I love you too.
Joan, do you have anything to share before we go?
I just appreciate the group and the depth and all the sharing and the insights and the camaraderie, and we're all in this together, and separation is just an illusion.
Yes, we are each other in the deepest sense.
Yeah, I like what that Rumi poem, Say I Am You.
I am you. Yeah, we are each other.
That's a delicious poetry.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. His great longing was Shams. He loved Shams, and his longing was personified in Shams. He has a poem where he says, when Shams comes back, he'll stick his head around the corner like this. The great anticipation of Shams sticking his head around the corner like this. That rush of home again. Yeah, he touched that chord more beautifully. I love Hafiz too. Hafiz, both Shams and Hafiz has some very ribald poetry. I don't know if you've read his ribald stuff or not, but it's pretty wild. And I love that, the humanness of both of them. I'm sure that he had more poems that probably have been filtered out. And even now, it's a difficult time finding ones. He said somebody shoots an arrow and it hits a donkey. And the donkey farts. So somebody says, well, that was my donkey. He says, well, how do you know? He said, I recognize how my donkey farts. But he has some that are just over the top. Wild. It's just incredible. But I love that. I don't know, his humanness. I love his longing. Shams was just on his mind, but it wasn't Shams so much. It's the human longing that we all have that he spoke of.
There was a line in one of my favorite poems by Rumi, who says these words that come from my mouth.
Ah,
And the last phrase was, Shams, if I could see your face once more, I could flee the imposition of this life.
oh, beautiful. Yeah, the heavy burden of loneliness.
Beautiful.
Truly, our loneliness, our aloneness becomes a sublime longing that we realize other people have that, and that love bubbles up for them, knowing you're lonely too. And we all have this. It's part of who we are. And knowing that, we cannot help but love each other no matter what. We got lost in a dark part of Fresno. It was a gangland and we were hungry. So we stopped at a fast food restaurant, and there was all gang members in there. They had tattoos up their neck and teardrops on their cheeks. And it was all families. So it must have been a safe ground or something. And it's very somber when we walked to the door, and I opened the door for my wife, and she uses a walker. And we didn't want to turn around because we were already halfway in. So I thought, well, let's go ahead and eat. So I do a thing that men do to each other. They nod softly to each other, and women don't do it. It's a sign for men that I'm okay, are you okay? And we're okay. So I did that to quite a few of them, several of the men. And then we had our dinner, and we got up to leave, and the young man jumped up to open the door for us. And I thought, oh my God, it was so different. I left there not feeling frightened at all.
I can't wait any longer.
What's cooking? Oh, just a second, please. She's going to show me something. Does anybody have a skunk story? Oh, this is my son and his son, and they have medals on their chest from a contest, a grappling jiu-jitsu contest.
No, it's more than that.
Oh, what is that, love? Oh, did he get a blue belt?
Yes.
Oh my God, they both got a blue belt. I don't know if you can see that or not. They've been working so hard. Oh my God, this is so.
I couldn't wait. I've been wanting
You sweetheart, I know. No. Oh my God, I'm so thrilled. Oh my God, that is so big for us. It's just one of those moments. It's like when Penn got her cats back and Phyllis found her center. Those moments are precious. I love you people. I love you. All ladies now. I love you ladies. Oh, Oliver.
Right back.
Oh, I love you, Oliver. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for your input,
Thank you
everyone.
very much.
Thank you.
Just your presence.
Creating space.
Precious. Oh my God.
I have to leave.
I'm going to put this on the internet, and I hope that's okay with everyone. It'll probably be the longest meeting that's ever been on the internet.
On YouTube,
Oh,
Facebook.
I'm sorry, Joan, what did you
On
say?
YouTube or Facebook, where you're going to load it up, upload it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll put it on my page too. I have a tough time figuring out how to do all that stuff, but I will put it on my page. I'll figure it out. I'm pretty smart. You lovelies. I hope to see you next week.
Thank you.
No,
Thank you. Goodbye.
bye. Bye. honey.
Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye bye. Oh, you
Bye.
sweet. I love the way women giggle. Men don't giggle. Have you noticed that? Yeah.
No, I'd never noticed.
Women go, yeah, like that. Women go up an octave. See, when I do it, it doesn't sound right. That's the way a guy laughs.
Yeah.
Or.
Good old chuckle.
Yeah, women do a sing-song chuckle. I love you. I have
I
to
love
go.
you guys.
Oh,
Bye.
beauties. So